Oh, baby. What do you think of that? How much that sucker weighs? That's at least 5, right? Oh, man. I needed about 4 more that looked just like that this past weekend on Smith Mountain Lake for the second stop in this year's BFL season. The Piedmont Division went to Smith Mountain Lake, and to say it was tough was an understatement. I knew it was going to be tough going up there, and I looked at weather conditions. I knew it was going to be cold. I knew that it was going to be snowy on tournament day and rainy, and a mix of both of those, and it in fact was. I knew I was probably going to struggle in practice, at least on the first day, trying to find what's good and just navigate through the lake and figure things out. And it certainly was and it rolled over into the second day of practice as well. In fact, for my first 2 days of practice, I didn't even have a single bite all day. I found a lot of great stuff. I found a lot of great laydowns, and I marked a lot of fish, and I found a lot of bait, but I was unable to actually even get one bite in 2 days of practice. I even had a co-angler with me the second day, and he actually didn't get a bite either. For most of the day, he ended up catching a short fish later in the day, but for 2 people on not to get a bite in the entire day, it was pretty tough. And so I wasn't too confident going into the tournament, but I knew going in, it was a points deal for me. I needed to do everything I could to get a fish and get points and keep my season alive. And we talked about that last video. We've got to keep our season alive here one way or another and get to High Rock Lake with a fighting chance. I fished a whole lot of stuff. I fished a bunch of clear water on the first 2 days of practice, and I just was not comfortable at all in that clear water. It's not that I was scared of it. It was just that I just couldn't get a bite at all. On tournament day, I was like, let's find something different. So I went up the Blackwater, and I went all the way to the back of a creek. And as you can see right here, I am in some chocolate milk, and I am at home here. There is a ton of wood there. There's current pulling around that corner that you just see, and I am at home here. And I didn't fish this in practice at all. So I'm fishing completely new water. It's kind of a wild card for me, just seeing what I can find. And I saw a lot of boats back. There was boats moving in and out of the back of this creek all day long. And in this chocolate milk looking water, this muddy water, it's a clear cut thing to throw a black and blue jig, and that is right up my alley. That is what I do. That's what I'm comfortable doing. I'm a power jig fisherman. I didn't have to use 6-pound line in here. So that's what I did. And luckily, I went the first 3.5 hours of the tournament without getting a bite. And then finally I moved all the way to the back of this creek till I couldn't get it almost any further back, and I was able to finally get a bite. I posted a video of that fish that I caught Sunday, I think. But if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to show it to you right here. And you can see I'm just fishing these wood laydowns. I'm working this jig really slowly, and I'm just hoping and praying for a bite. I'm trying to get some points here. And here's the video of that my one fish. I'll just let you listen in. Just working that jig slowly, and there is the hook set, and I knew right away it was good. I called the net. The fish actually tried to run behind the boat.
Dig him. Get in there.
I didn't let it.
Oh my God.
I did cuss a couple of times, and I am sorry for that.
Yes,
I was pretty excited when that fish got netted.
Yeah, baby!
The fish was actually netted twice. And so yeah, the fish was in the net twice. I don't know if it was in the net, under the net, whatever. He took me under the boat, and
thank you, God.
You know, he either missed them or I don't know exactly what happened. I guess the co-angler missed him, but I got a really great hook. The thing was in his jaw. I'm trying to get the hook out right now, but I can't. It's in there so good. And there it is.
Oh, baby. What do you think of that? How much that sucker weighs? That's at least 5, right?
And I'm going to tell you, my trip, that one fish, that 20 seconds there of fighting that fish was worth the entire trip. No doubt.
Five and a half. Boom shakalaka, baby.
So 5 pounds 11 ounces is what she weighed, and you know, yeah, that fish was worth it. That fish was worth 8 hours of travel, probably $1,000 in expenses. You know, the fish gave me some points. I'm able to keep my season alive with that one fish. I think I finished in 70th place in this event. Honestly, the day was much more productive than I thought. I actually can't believe that as many people did as good as they did. It took 13 pounds and some change to finish in the money in this tournament. I honestly thought 8 pounds. As tough as it was for me, I thought 8 pounds is probably going to get you in the money here. That wasn't the case. It was, you know, people found fish and people weighed in some really good bags. This fish, though, my one fish, it actually held the big. I was the very first person to weigh in this tournament. I was in the first flight, boat 15, so I weighed in very early in the day, and I was actually leading in the big fish for at least half of the weigh-in, maybe even 3/4 of the way. And so I'm sitting there in the snow and the rain, and I'm waiting, and I finally get knocked off by a one that was like 6 pounds and some change. And then later, somebody weighed in a 7-pounder. So for the good long time, I was actually sitting in the money with this big fish, and I knew it probably wouldn't hold because I knew the quality in this lake is amazing. And you know, but it is what it is. And I had a phenomenal time. I met some great people, and I actually rented a house with a few really awesome people, and it was nice to hang out with people and make some new friends. And I guess that's kind of what this fishing thing is all about anyway, is growing as an angler and making as many connections as you can. I actually stayed with Ron Rousseau. Ron Rousseau, I think, finished in the money and took the last paycheck, and he actually, you know, we stayed together for 3 days or so, I think, and he pre-fished really hard. So I want to give some shout outs to him. He was just phenomenal. He's a great angler. He worked his butt off pre-fishing. He was on fish and he was catching them, you know, all 3 days up there while I couldn't. He actually has his own YouTube channel. I'll put a link in the description for him, so you can check him out. And he does video reviews just like I do. And like I say, he's a phenomenal angler, and he worked really hard. And so I'm really happy for him. He's kind of in the same boat as I am. But as far as I go, after our first tournament of the year, I zeroed. I was in 90th place. After this tournament, I'm sitting in 100th place. So I actually went down 10 spots, even though I got some very, very, very well needed points. We're still in the thing, though. We're kicking, and I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to go to High Rock here in a couple of months, and I'm going to beat around up there. I'm going to do everything I can to put something together and to keep fighting. This year has been a struggle. It really, really has been a struggle for me. It seems like every time I want to go fishing, it's either raining, it's blowing 40, or it's snowing, and sometimes all three. So it's been a tough year, but that's what separates the good anglers from the great anglers, is persevering and getting better and continuing to grow and continuing to catch fish. But man, I wish some of these tournaments were on local bodies of water where I am, so I wouldn't have to drive 4 hours to a location, and so I could fish some stuff that I'm familiar with. So, but it is what it is. Like I say, I want to continue to grow, and I think this is how we get better. So that's that. That's Smith Mountain Lake. Real quick, the lake is it's beautiful. It's it is a beautiful, beautiful lake. You know, I just sometimes when you're riding around, you just kind of want to stop the boat and look around and see the surroundings and take it all in. So I live here on the East Coast of North Carolina, and you know, I don't get to see this kind of stuff. You know, this beautiful landscape. And every time I go into Virginia, you know, I see these beautiful mountains and the green pastures with the cows roaming in them and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, wow, I'm not in North Carolina anymore. So a beautiful lake, and it's a great fishery. There is some quality fish in there. I only caught one this time, but I am looking forward to the opportunity of going back. Also, we ran the gauntlet. I have ran the gauntlet of March. March was super tough for me. Every weekend, and sometimes up to 3 days a week, I have been on the water. And 2 BFLs, you know, some club tournaments, and every weekend it is something for me. And so I've gotten through March. And so now I can settle down and focus on what I really need to focus on, and you know, not run myself ragged. So I've gotten through this big old bucket of BFL that FLW decided to throw at us. And now we get a 2-month wait. We don't get to fish for 2 months. We don't get to fish in April and May, which are phenomenal months to fish. So again, that was a scheduling quirk. It is what it is. But I'll be ready for High Rock. I'll be there with bells on. You guys will see me there. And I'm going to do everything I can to keep on going. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.